As we were about to leave the classroom, someone called out to me.
Miss Whiteley.
Akachi approached. Yes?
I do apologize for this, but I think it would be for the best if Kobayashi and I were to split off from the rest of the group.
What? Why?
I would appreciate it if you didn't look quite so sad. I'm not suggesting that the two of us don't want to work alongside you. Rather, if Mr. Mckenzie truly is in danger, then it's possible it will be too late by the time we decode these messages. The two of us intend to try pursuing the case from other angles, in hopes that we can discover anything else that may help us.
So we'll leave the deciphering to your side. Best of luck!
That sounds less like helping and more like dropping the hard work on us. Don't jump to conclusions, Watson. What they're saying makes perfect sense. There are times when it pays to look at a case from a completely different angle.
What shall I do? Yeah, I'll let them go. All right. Take care. We'll do the best we can here.
Thank you. We shall pray Mr. Mckenzie is safe.
We'll see you later, and good luck!
I feel like there was a lot of different ways this mystery can be solved. I think this is the most, choose your boy that we've gotten so far out of all the mysteries, so maybe I'm getting to the end of the common route, finally. Akachi and Kobayashi hurried out of the classroom. If he's already been caught in something, then we can't afford mistakes when decoding the cipher.
True. That we can't.
Jack? I was quite surprised upon Jack's interjection. He insisted this had nothing to do with him, but he was curious about it after all. He must be worried for Mr. Mckenzie also. Thank God he stepped up.
What's that voice for?
Oh, don't mind me.
There's a chance the messages were written to mix us up. A ploy to distract us from something more sinister in the works. Could be, at any rate. Your logic is sound, but diversion or not, this is clearly Mr. Mckenzie's handwriting. I should agree. The way his letters curl at the end is the sign. Can't notice such things when using a pen, but it's plain as day here.
Jack sought the notes he'd written on his desk for reference.
Even if some bloke mimicked the handwriting, it wouldn't be easy to do the sign for rabbits that are only seen when he jots down things in chalk. Though, could be he was coerced.
Unintentionally, my eyes wandered over to Jack's notes, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Your notes are impeccable, Jack. Despite my efforts to hold it in, I squeaked out a tiny gasp. You even copied the teacher's handwriting. What a gift you have.
You thick? I never said you couldn't look! I take it this part neatly written in cursive is mine. Huh. Well done.
Okay, so Jack has a talent for mimicking people's handwriting.
It's from when he asked you to write on the board. You'd be polite to stop staring any time. As for this childish scrawl here, this must be Watson's. Very accurate indeed. That's mine? It can't be that terrible. Besides, I'm always the one jotting down clues during our cases. I need to prioritize speed above all else. I do plan on getting them together and putting my memoirs in a book, but until then I don't see the need to make it pretty. Save yourself the effort and purchase a typewriter. You can't write worth a damn.
Dang, poor Watson.
You don't have to mind it that much. Right. Isn't it about time we shifted focus towards decoding those messages?
With a mood considerably more cheery than before, we made our way to the library. Is Jack actually helping us despite all? Lovely. Once there, we put our heads together and started looking over each of the messages we had copied.
Here's the one that was written on my desk, and this one here is the one that was on Holmes's. I'd wager this is a simple substitution cipher.
What's that? Pardon, Holmes, but I'm not at all familiar with the term.
It's a cipher where each letter is substituted for another, although the name already implies as much. As an example, let's take the 26 letters of the English alphabet, A to Z. You would first decide what to substitute each letter for, and create a table reflecting the answers for easy reference. The most straightforward one would be replacing each letter with a letter that comes after it in the alphabet. A for B, B for C, and so on. If I were to write my own name this way, this would be the result.
Ipmanft. I see. That makes for quite an effective cipher. It would take me a while to work out the message.
Perhaps for you, but for anyone used to decoding these things, it would take no time at all. They would be able to read the original message as if it never existed. There aren't many familiar enough with ciphers for that to be the case, mind, but I find it still worth noting.
Mr. Mckenzie's message uses more than letters. It uses symbols as well. How are we possibly meant to decode this?
The key lies in how frequently the letters of the English alphabet are used. Look at the messages we've been given. Do you notice how some symbols and letters crop up far more often than others? You're right. Like this one here. Oh, and this one. The most commonly used letter in the English alphabet is E. Second is T, followed by A, then O, all the way down to the last. As such, we're best off substituting letters in the cipher from the standard alphabet based on frequency. We can correct mistakes and piece together the rules along the way. So upon closer inspection, this is the most commonly used letter, and therefore likely E. This is presumably T.
And in cases where there are two letters or symbols used consecutively?
Not every letter was designed to be written twice in succession in the English language, but certain letters do happen to be used commonly for just that. L as in all, T as in Scott, S as in mission.
Ah, we can narrow down the most likely candidates for double letters in these ciphers easily enough then.
Correct. Incidentally, E and O are also common consecutive letters. Ugh. Testing every letter and symbol sounds as taxing as it is tedious.
It may not be as difficult to decode as you think. These symbols resemble those used in the cipher used by Mary, Queen of Scots.
That's encouraging. There should be some books on that cipher somewhere in the library.
Shall we see what we can find, then? I didn't realize Lupin was also with us. Which bookshelf should we check first? How about this one? Let me see if I can find anything among the books on crimes. Mary, Queen of Scots, used a cipher when exchanging letters with the other conspirators in the plot to assassinate England's queen. A book that details the plot ought to have more regarding the cipher. My thoughts exactly, Emily. The case is known as the Babington Plot, I believe. And isn't it convenient that Mr. Mckenzie talked about that? I started looking in the bookshelves farther inside the library. I searched through the top shelf of a particular bookcase after borrowing a stepladder, upon which good fortune finally came to me. Here we are! The Babington Plot, Execution and Error. This is perfect! I extended my hand out as far as I could reach, and just as I thought I had it... I lost my balance. Please let Holmes catch me. Please let Holmes catch me. I fully expected a harsh landing on the floor, but no such thing came. Rather, the landing was a soft one. Or is it Jack? Oh no.
You're heavy.
What? Jack? Why are you under me?
Never mind it. Just get off. How did you not see I was here?
Beg pardon. My mind was so wrapped up in the cipher business that I wasn't paying proper attention.
Ugh.
As I stood, Marple appeared from a neighboring bookshelf. Thanks, Jack.
Everything all right? I heard a loud noise.
She fell from the ladder and onto...
No, nothing at all, Marple. I only happened to drop a book, that's all. Did you just, like, put your hand on Jack's mouth like, no, it's fine. I'd moved to cover Jack's mouth at such a speed that I nearly looked as if I were slapping him. Poor Jack.
Oh, was it the book you needed, Emily?
I believe so. I'm absolutely certain it will have what we're looking for.
I'm glad to hear that. And if I may politely observe, I never knew you were so friendly with one another. Very interesting.
I'll just leave it at that. Marple left the conversation at that and wandered off to a nearby bookshelf.
Oh, for God's sake! Off with you!
Please, Jack, don't tell the others about what just happened. Please.
And waste me breath talking about something so stupid. What noblewoman slaps her hand over someone's face? You sure you're all tough?
I do apologize. Really. It was more a reflex than on purpose. You're not mad with me, are you? Oh, the soft smile. My heart. Oh no, Jack, stop my heart.
You're a right danger to yourself.
How?
Just try not to follow me yet again.
Like Marple, Jack chose a cryptic end to the conversation before leaving. Amazing. Whose message shall I decipher first? Oh, Holmes. Yeah. Finally, it's been ages since I got a heart with this guy. Let's start by decoding your message, Holmes.
Do you think yourself capable?
I didn't mean to suggest I would do it alone, but we can make short work of it as a team.
Very well, then. I'll start with the basics.
What a cute cat!
What letter do you think the two circles here are a substitute for?
Okay, so you got a cat, two squiggles, and a sun. Okay, I'm gonna save. Letter? Which letter could we use in place of the black circles? Okay, O would be the most likely candidate, because there's two of them next to each other. What about O? Though it could be E, I suppose. You mentioned before how they were both used consecutively in a lot of words. I'm thankful E wasn't an option.
Huh. Don't get cocky. I did say it was a basic question, and answering a basic question is nothing to boast about. I would sooner wonder how you managed to survive this long if you couldn't.
Paying a compliment isn't as painful as you might think, if you must know. Well, let's keep at it. I'm smart. We persisted through the ciphers, questioning, decoding, pursing our lips in irritation when without a clue, and cheering when one was solved beyond doubt. Each success was enough to restore our motivation for the next. Oh, we've done it. Everything's been decoded. We'll have to let the others know it's done. We retired for the classroom as though there wasn't a second to spare.
All right. If we put all the messages together so that they can be read coherently, this is what we're left with.
I fear I do not have long to live.
But even should heartless blades tear into me, I will always be proud to have been able to teach you. By the time you have finished decoding this message, I may no longer be of this world. But for this time, I bid myself to rest, recalling with warmth your smiles.
From St. Woolworth 112A to my beloved students.
None of us could contain our shock. I'm surprised such a message had to be encrypted.
Mr. Mckenzie.
Blades tear into me. then his life is absolutely in danger. I think you've missed the most important point. The address at the bottom. The rest is within the realms of our expectations. I have a horrible feeling about this. This address may be...
Oh, is that Baker Street? No, 112A... Hold on a second. St. Woolworth 112A. This could be street backwards. I wonder.
Maybe what, Holmes? Have you figured out something more?
No, I haven't. I was rambling.
We should hurry to wherever this is. What if the worst has already happened?
And if it's a trap, are we safe to go?
Even if it is, it's the only way we're going to learn what happened to him.
I agree. Let's go! Our apprehension growing ever stronger, we ran. We traveled after hailing a cab. The address was revealed to us when it finally stopped.
Holmes, this can't be!
It is. We've reached a graveyard.
Oh, I thought that was going to be a cipher for their flat. That's more depressing. Well, that's creepy. The chime of church bells was distinct. Lightning flickered across the sky, and rain began to pound against us to create a woeful painting. The sight within the graveyard grew more unsettling when we observed eerie silhouettes not far away. They were all dressed in black clothing, sniffling and sobbing and holding one another. We approached. Carved on one of the gravestones closest to them was an all too familiar name.
No. I refuse to believe it.
In loving memory, Mckenzie. How could it have been that quick? There's people here mourning him. They didn't even announce that at school. There's no way. I refuse to believe Mackenzie's dead. It was the one we dreaded the most. Mckenzie.
Were we too late? No.
All of us were left speechless by the reality before us. Then, just like that, the silence was broken.
Oh. Hello, class. What brings you here?
Who? I turned in response to the voice and was at a sudden loss. Mr. Mckenzie? Why are you... Moments before, we had been convinced he was laid to rest, but there he was, standing, alive. What the deuces?
Mr. Mckenzie! Don't tell me you weren't able to ascend and are now trapped here as a ghost!
Oh no. I assure you I am breathing quite well. This here is the funeral of an old friend.
But we decoded all those messages you left for us. Why, one of them had this very address.
Aha. That's how you found this place. Mr. Mckenzie, perhaps we are owed a swift explanation. Well, with regards to the address, I live next to this graveyard. My home is a stone's throw away from here.
So it was for your home?
Then whose gravestone is that?
That would be my father's. He lost his life to hepatitis. Oh, I don't know how many years ago. But he was laid to rest next to my home is quite fortunate for me. That ain't what most call fortunate.
Then you weren't being targeted by people after your life? You'd mentioned not having long to live.
Ah, so I did. That was in reference to my sudden appendicitis. Appendicitis? I was told surgery was my only option if I hoped to survive. They'd had to cut me right open, with a scalpel. To be put to sleep with chloroform and cut open left me positively shaken, but to do so without an anesthetic made it worse. So as you can understand, I feared greatly for my health and fled. You're a grown adult, sir. You're quite right. which is why I decided to steal my nerves, to be cut open by a steel scalpel. But first, I left you my ciphered messages so I would have no regrets.
Have you had the surgery?
I have. My abdomen was hacked to bits, or as the doctor might say, the surgery was without complications. I am indeed fit to return to lessons.
Mr. Mckenzie relayed his tale with gaiety, but he was the only person among us who wore a smile. What a convoluted... Goodness gracious me. I'm with Jack on this one.
I'd rather bury you right here.
Let's not be too angry, Jack. That goes for all of you. We should be grateful he is well, I suppose.
Well, I'll admit to some relief that he is alive. It would leave us with some rather unpleasant memories if our final piece of schoolwork was deciphering our teacher's will.
You were this worried. God has blessed me, this I know.
He was so deeply, genuinely moved that the entire class lost its will to complain any further. What? How did this get here? I felt a folded piece of paper in my pocket and removed it to read its contents. It's a cipher using made-up symbols. Aha! It's Holmes's writing. Deft fingers, sir. If I decode this the same way as the message earlier... That smile!
Your intuition is nothing to make light of, but don't let your successes build into conceit. It would be better to take my advice when times call for it.
Wonderful. It sounds like him. I looked up in hopes of spotting Holmes. It was by chance that he was looking at me as well. And when we met eyes, he granted me one of his smug smiles. And that's how you know he loved you, girl. It was just a moment, however. His attention was elsewhere before I could give any sort of telling retort. Conceit, you say? You might want to take your own advice. Though in a sense, I could take this as him acknowledging my capabilities. My heart would sing if I knew he meant that for certain. Even as a simple guest, the reminder that I had grown gave me a much-inspired pinch of pride. I folded the message and placed it carefully in my pocket. The rain had stopped. As quickly as it had come, it was gone and clear. The day had been an eventful one, but I was delighted that our mystery ended with Mr. Mckenzie safe. Perhaps it was worth the anxiety to know we could come together as a class. Might need that in the future. Pendleton was the first to greet me upon my return.
I see you've had quite the fulfilling day, my lady.
What a sneaky smile. The man was up to no good. Truly? What makes you think that?
You appear exhausted, but at the same time it's as though something wonderful happened that made it all worthwhile. Like one of my lectures in Christmas came at once.
I take issue with your comparison, but it does work. I am a bit exhausted, yes, but it feels like the first time we've all come together to achieve something grand. If I think of it like that, it was rather fulfilling.
You now look over the moon with joy, to where you've lost your mind about the clouds whilst your body stands blissfully vacant on earth.
Bother your lack of manners. I'll have you know that I'm always mindful.
Are you?
As I started to wonder whether I might have bordered on being overconfident, Pendleton's still no good grin grew especially devilish.
Should that be true, then you won't have any problem with me testing so. Now, I intend to storm upon your bed whilst you sleep tonight. I trust I have your consent.
What? What are you talking about? I nearly lost my footing from how sharply my heart thumped. You will what? Of course you don't have my consent. You know what it takes to wake me up once I've fallen asleep, and it's no small effort. And I dare say that isn't something to say to a lady on any given occasion.
I spoke in jest.
But I do hope it serves as a cautionary tale should you continue to aggrandize your impeccable guard before others. There is fearless, and then there is folly.
You are absolutely unbelievable. You're an extraordinary butler, but you aren't half that as a man. Get him, Emily.
I'm honored you think so highly of me as a butler, my lady.
Oh, yes. With nothing more to be said, I twisted my heel and prepared for a pleasant evening at home. Ooh. Detective's medal. A reward for demonstrating intelligent, well-reasoned logic in the solving of cases. I will take that. And that was the end of that. That was such a short one. Some of these episodes are so long, and then the last two have been really short. I'll take that too. A gathering in shambles. Once again, the morning was beautiful. Once again, the sky was clear as could be. It was the most perfect day one could dream for a picnic.
Here is your lunch, my lady.
Thank you. This is awfully suspect. How come you've given me 2 massive baskets worth?
Well, you're a growing young lady. The way I see it, there's no harm in you enjoying a filling lunch from time to time.
And I can certainly see myself enjoying this, but were I to eat it all, I can't help but think...
You're gathering with your schoolmates in Hyde Park for an extracurricular picnic, are you not? I thought it wise to make enough for you to share.
Oh, how thoughtful of you! Yes, I'm certain we can go through this much food in no time at all if we share it.
I only ask that you not gorge on it all yourself. Not that you would ever dream of such a thing, of course.
Yes, of course. Who do you take me for? Now, let's be going. We set off in the carriage, and after some familiar swaying to and fro inside, I arrived at Hyde Park at a prompt 11 o'clock in the morning. I wasn't the first to arrive, however. My schoolmates appeared to have already started in on the fun. Oh? I can see Holmes and Watson over there.
You're late, Miss Whiteley. A fine morning, isn't it? We've been counting the minutes till you arrived.
Good morning, Watson. Though I can't help but notice you seem bothered.
Well, you see, a bit of trouble followed us out of Baker Street.
Trouble, you say? Hudson's the trouble, aw. Excuse me? That's not the proper way to speak of the sweet soul who slaved away the hours preparing your lunch. Hudson? What brings you here? Hello, Emily. I'm your assistant, so naturally I made you lunch for today's picnic. The moment she laid eyes on me, she was more than content to dash over and cling to me as a child would their mother.
I told her this was part of the Academy's studies, but would she listen? Not a word, no matter how many times I asked her to stay home. Worse still, she threatened to withhold our own lunches if we refused to take her with us.
Their reactions to the situation couldn't have looked any different. Holmes and Watson were sullen, whilst Hudson bounced up and down, positively radiant. I had so wanted you to try my food, Emily. Will you? I'll try, but I've brought plenty of delicious morsels of my own. See? My! You can certainly see why I play second fiddle between us. What a delightful spread!
All right, class. Can you hear me? If you can, please gather round.
We were amongst those who could, in fact, hear him, though we were a fair distance away. Yes, sir. Yes, sir! We did as instructed and hurried over to him as quickly as we could. He was quick to notice someone was out of place.
Why do I only see 2 faces? And who might you be, young lady?
I'm Emily's assistant. I'm also charged with looking after Holmes and Watson, so I've brought their lunch.
I see. That's quite a pressing responsibility for one so young. You appear a fair bit more reliable than them as well, seeing as they couldn't follow my simple enough instructions.
Oh, I'm a much more capable assistant than Watson. I can promise you that much.
Well, this is rather disappointing.
I surveyed the surroundings. That's Marple over there, isn't it? Ah, and of course she's brought some tea. Who else? With expert delicacy, she held a teacup in one hand and was pouring with the other. Holmes, who had been with me only moments before, was deathly focused at the ground through a magnifying lens. Watson was nowhere to be seen. Lupin had fallen fast asleep whilst leaning against a tree. Kobayashi and Akachi were lazing about on the grass. And since he was somewhat hidden by the trees, I spotted Jack last. He seemed to be in deep thought. The entire class is behaving as if they're on holiday. Even Akachi seems to have dismissed the rules in favor of basking in the sun. Oh, goodness! Now I've lost Hudson. Come back, pretty butterfly! Come back! Lord. Lord, oh Lord.
I see we've a problem on our hands. We may be at the park for a picnic, but this is still a part of your studies. Though I see now no one is content to treat it as such.
Would you like my help, Mr. Mckenzie? It's also a perfect opportunity to enjoy something together. As things stand, our class only seems inclined to work as one when there's a case that needs solving. Did you just take out a knife, Mr. Mckenzie?
Perhaps the easiest way to sort this out would be to create one, then. The Hyde Park murders has a nice ring to it.
It does not! You can't kill people on a whim to make your students behave! Wait, why do you have this knife?
Ah, not to worry. It's to peel the apples I brought for dessert. I have no secret desire to murder my students. In fact, I urge you to perish the thought.
As he said that, Mr. Mckenzie grasped the knife with shaking hands. The sight alone was enough to send my mind to wild places and make my heart rate spike. Giggity? I understand, sir, so please calm down and put the knife away. I'll go and gather everyone up, so stay here, please.
Oh, thank you, Miss Whiteley. You're my only hope.
Sir, please. Please put it away.
Oops. Forgive me. Slip of the hand, really.
Having agreed to do so, I set off to go and gather up my schoolmates before any of them ended up dead.